civil defense structure,
Gotcha.
as well. Some that are exclusive to the free souls. However, those, even though there's not going to be people who are, with the off-grid, eco-village lifestyle, we recognize not everyone's trying to do that.
Yeah.
So, ultimately what I wanted to do, was create a alliance of other brothers, and sisters, our folks who are, in the political scene and also in the civil defense, scene, creating an African diaspora legal defense.
Okay.
Sure.
So, not too long ago, we were talking about Kujilinda. They had it on the 8th day of Kwanzaa over here, called Kujilinda, which means self-defense.
Okay.
So this is a vital discussion. Ifetayo. I'm going to ask you if you would like to join. I'm going to show you something here. I'm going to ask you, would you like to tell me what you see?
What I see?
Yeah. We give thanks and praise to the power of the Netaru. We give thanks and praise to the power of the Rishu. Give thanks and praise to the power, the oracle, to Hootie. Definitely went to. What do you see?
The Shango.
Exactly. There's a gap right here, so gap this to the earth. Asuri sema kodo sara Khepra Ptah ba amira utaba rubu tentu ke the number drinkers where jetu netrata na tabu entire pa abenitu. Herakudi is Ogun, and notice how these are closed. Right? So this is on the same sphere as Ogun right here, and this is on the same sphere of Gab right here. If you look at Gab, you see that Gab is open, but you see right here, we're dealing with Ogun, we're dealing with Herakudi. Herakudi deals with the Martian energy. Right? That deals with the energy of Ogun. It shows that in order for us to have stability in what we're trying to do, we're going to make sure that things are structurally in place, right? And people are motivated, and the people who are in the right places are doing the right thing according to what they're here to do. Notice this is closed, so that means that this principle needs to be paid homage to. Okay, so they may open up. So therefore, when you want something to get moving, you got to make sure that the people that are going to move on it, right, know that it's clear that what they need to move on. So you might want people who are assigned to certain positions so that we can have stability in the organization. Otherwise, it's not going to work. That's basically what this is saying. Also, this is the warrior. So if you're dealing with warrior training and everything else, if you say you're going to do warrior training, then people need to stick to that, okay? Because there's obviously an aspect of war, and it's being talked about, it's being discussed, but it's not being respected, okay?
You got people in the group.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
All right? So, perhaps what we can do Astudi sema kodo sara Khepra kuonaba. So we'll attempt to get the new return. That's why you got to let that. 5 minutes I been into. Will be the solution. Will be the solution. Will be another solution on behalf of the organization. health, once again, Gab comes up, but this time Gab is in front of Amun, right? So this would be like Olodumare right now. Gab is feathered into Anile. So if you want it to be healthy, you got to make sure that people get like an exercise regimen where people are working on their diet. I'm gonna tell you something. It comes up in people's Odu all the time, right? That people are not getting enough sleep, pow. And people are not taking care of their bodies, pow. One of the things that we need if we're going to build anything is we need healthy minds and bodies. You see what I mean? This goes for me too. I'm not taking myself out of the picture here because, my sleep patterns and a lot of things that I eat has been straight up crazy. But right now, a lot of African American males are coming down with prostate cancer, right? It's a very sad thing. A lot of African American women are coming down with breast cancer, right? In various forms of cancer, diabetes, and other things that affect our community. One of the ways that they're going to war with us is through the food, and at the same time, we work crazy hours and everything. So a lot of times we don't get the type of sleep that we need to rebuild the life force. This right here is talking about the compromise of a life force. People's life force is being compromised. Now it's good to get your money, all right? It's good to do what you got to do. But we're being reminded that people need to take better care of their bodies, and they also need to cultivate their life force. One good way is through breathing exercises, meditations, going out in nature. Maybe you can establish something where people get together and have a retreat and go out in nature and everything else. One of the problems too is that when you're living in a city, there's a lot of positive ions that's released by all the technology and the people who's absorbing the negative ions. So like we mentioned before, you need negative ions. Where would you get these negative ions? And E5 teaches that you'll get these negative ions from the forest. You get these negative ions on top of the mountain where Obatala dwells, right? In the forest where Osayen and Ogun and Ajala and Ochosi dwell. In other words, we need to connect back to the roots, and we need to connect back to the earth in which we're made of. You see what I mean? A lot of us, we lived in a city, but we should go out sometime and maybe go where there's the mountain range over there by Mount Rainier. There's a resort where people can go on a retreat and stay over there in the cabins for like a weekend and have whatever type of meeting you want.
The Buffalo Soldier Ranch is on the way to Mount Rainier. It's in nature, in the woods, and first and third Sundays. We're trying to go out there first and third Sundays.
I say. So that would be a good idea. That would correspond with this. So it's good to get a retreat from all the noise that's taking place in the city. Go where people are not going to think that, oh, I could just go down the street to McDonald's and I can go home. Take people away from this and have a retreat.
How much is that spot in Mount Rainier you talking about?
We could find out. I know there was a person that I talked to where they basically rented the space or used the space. Maybe I could talk to him.
Okay. And it's a cabin you get? Or?
Yeah, it's kind of like a complex full of cabins. Maybe about 4 or 5 of them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the main cabin that you go into to do ceremonies and things of that nature.
Well, I can get them to respect your.
Come up with an exercise regimen. Number 1. Number 2, Ogun, he dwells out in the places where we're talking about, in the forest. Get people to also understand the idea of strategizing, because Ogun deals with another thing, secret societies. Make sure that you're working with people who are not going to go around blabbing everything that you're doing behind closed doors, okay? Because Ogun deals with secret societies too, as well as economics. Come up with a plan, come up with an economic plan. Learn about logistics and stick to those logistics. You see anything? It's not to roll.
Four.
This is on the same principle as Logan. So I'm asking you if you see anything. Earth, spirit. Okay, so we got earth and spirit. And I also want to challenge us to also be able to read the signs ourselves. Okay? So, by the way, this is not tarot, this is not a tarot deck. This is actually based on the same principles of Obi. Only difference is that you have the deity next to these 4 dots, which represent when something is open and closed. Tiamat, Tumat. This would be similar right here to what we call Okana. Right? So when you got 3 closed and 1 open. Because right now this is showing that it's closing. So there's a solution to open it up. You know, so also there's chants that we can learn how to open up these gaps or open up these connections with these orishas or these networks. You know, we'll be getting more into that. Gab represents the physical plane. Gab represents the health of a situation. And Amun or Amen, which is spells, represents the unseen aspect of it. But a lot of times when people are not getting a good amount of sleep, I get this card in this position where you got 3 closed and 1 open. So,
Me.
what's that?
It's probably me.
Yeah, and
I'm thinking of myself actually.
so if it's the leader,
In all kinds of ways.
so you see, if you're the leadership, and if you're not getting the proper rest, the proper nourishment, and everything else, you're not going to be able to carry on the things in which you want to do. You see what I mean?
Sure.
You know, so you want to have a certain amount of rest, but you also want to be able to rebuild your life force.
Sure.
You know. Now, one of the things that we can start doing is doing Reiki treatments for who have all been attuned.
I ain't got too much.
You didn't get attuned yet? Okay. How about you? I could have sworn I tuned in out. Okay.
What was that when I was sitting on the chair upstairs and you was going around me? What was that? What was it?
Between you think you gotta lay down flat.
No, you're not
Oh,
to lay down
okay.
flat. No. I think you guys got an attunement to
I
forgot.
think he got it.
Yeah.
Oh, he
He
did?
sat in a chair
Yeah,
and he
up there.
meditated and he did stuff around.
Oh yeah, he said
Yeah.
we're initiating the Reiki one.
Yeah.
Okay, we got 2.
So that's your attunement.
Okay.
All right. See, so you guys have tools, and that's the thing. A lot of people get Reiki. I don't know what it. You know what it is? That's on me. I didn't remind you of what it is that you have. I'll take responsibility for that. When you get a Reiki attunement, you can go in the bathtub and do Reiki on yourself, right? And feed your own head. Whatever happened to your ionizer? You still have that?
Song right there in the corner.
Okay. I didn't even know you had it on. Here's what you want to do. You want to make sure that if you have Reiki, to do it like every day. Hold, please.
Look at your hand.
Or you can come downstairs.
And your finger out. Go back up.
She's slinging and shit.
Which goes into the spiritual part of it, or should we say the healing part of it. One of the problems that we have in our organizations, in the leaders, is that a lot of times the leadership don't be healthy. Right? And gone are the days when we have people who take leadership positions and you look at them and they look sickly. Those days are gone, right? One of the ways that we can also have an evolution, right? And a healthy revolution of our situation is we got to be healthy. Your existence, right, as far as the system is concerned, is a form of resistance. But we're going to take it beyond resistance to the point that you transcend even a need to feel to do that. Because everything will fall into place once you're in harmony with your destiny. The thing about it is that you can actually shorten your lifespan. Things are not predetermined. You have choices. That's the beautiful thing about African tradition. You don't learn that everything is predetermined. You learn that you have choices to make to avoid the outcome of an event, right? If you wanted it to go a certain way, if you don't want to like fall into a pitfall, and if you get the reading, it says, well, if you keep on going this direction, you're going to fall in a hole. So that means that you go a different direction so you don't fall in a hole. So that's not a predestined idea or concept of destiny. You have to basically align with your destiny, because people literally die all the time without fulfilling their destiny, and that's what I keep on talking about. So with this, knowing that we have a choice in the matter, I think is very important, because one of the reasons why people allow their lives to go to crap is because they don't believe they have a choice. Especially religious people. They think everything is predetermined. God has already willed it. It's inevitable. I was chosen to go to hell, so therefore I'm going to hell. And so-and-so was chosen to go to heaven, and therefore he's going to heaven. Therefore you get the preacher. Oh, he's obviously going to heaven because he's a preacher, right? But he can get away with whatever he wants to. I like the idea of the Eco Village, because I've done a lot of work with the Green Movement years ago, with Got Green, and what we had was brothers learning how to, learning how to clean up their environment, clean up their neighborhoods, but not only that, but also do advocacy work, because what they were doing in the black communities all over the country was dumping garbage, like right down the street from where there were black communities. Sometimes they'll build a black community or let the black community flourish right next to a power plant, right? Or a city dump. And what they called it in the white neighborhood was not my backyard. They called it NIMBYism. So not in my backyard, but in somebody else's backyard. So we're constantly bombarded with junk, with toxicity. A lot of the public schools, you have people who are exposed to like rust in the water, rusty pipes. The water goes through rusty pipes, and they've been connected to people who are violent, right? People who basically fight all the time because they've been drinking toxic water from rusty pipes that's been connected to violence and everything else. So a lot of these preventable illnesses are directly linked to where we live, the fact that there are food deserts, and the fact that we are not controlling our food supply. Somebody else is. You ever heard of a food desert? Who knows what a food desert is? All right, you get a chance, look it up, what a food desert is. And what it is that there are huge sections where no healthy food is available anywhere. You know, the closest place that you're going to find food is at a convenience store where there's potato chips and cake and ice cream and everything else. But there's nothing, hot dogs, but there's nothing healthy to eat, right? The Green Movement dealt with all of that, but the problem is that there was an agenda behind it that was more political. What I liked about the idea is that it promoted holistic living, and what I think happened is that it got hijacked. There are people in Seattle that I know of who would still like to work on an ecocentric movement, on an eco-friendly environment, and things of that nature. I mean, I know people with farms and everything else. You know, there's a guy that I was in the military with who says that he would love to have people come up on his farm and he'll teach them how to grow things.
Where's that? Is it here in Seattle?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere on the outskirts of the city. He has his own. In fact, I know two people. Now, one particular brother, he had a situation where he wanted people somebody to literally come and live on the farm. I don't know if you heard about what's been happening to African American farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they've been getting the short end of the stick for a long time. You know. So we got to get our hands back on the ability to control our own produce. And,
Oh, shit.
I say. Now I'm
Oh,
open
sure.
for suggestions. I don't want to be the only brother
Can we-
over here talking.
Can we go to that? We can can you contact that the people you know at the farm so we can go out there and learn how to plant? I guess just start somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes all I need someone to do is just point me in the direction they want to go, and I'll go ahead and connect it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In fact, I'm going to tell you somebody else who's working on something like that, and that's Reverend Jeffries at New Hope Baptist
Great.
over there in the CD.
Mm-hmm.
He's been working on this project for a minute, but he couldn't find the people that he wanted to be stable enough and focused on it. You know?
Project of growing food or eco village or which?
Well,
Yeah.
growing food, but that would be connected to an eco village. You see what I mean? There are also programs where people, if people are still interested, I know at Evergreen College, they at one point in time was teaching people about solar panels and stuff like that. You know, so, would you say the Kemetic brother over there, wasn't he trying to deal with solar panels?
Yes, sir. Oh yeah. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he definitely dealing with solar panels. He's using them to the utmost advantage and everything to power up everything, even like his hand tools. So yeah. Are you saying there's a course? Or are you saying Evergreen State College, they got a course you take, or?
Yeah, this course is, you know. The thing about it is not as prominent as it was back in 2010, because it kind of fizzled out after everybody took off with the stimulus money. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much what happened. For a long time, that kind of motivated a brother like myself, because I was out there. So right now, I'm planning on stepping back up in the community. Masai, go sit down. I was planning on going to, you know, going out with that as far as getting sisters and brothers training and everything else. You know, unfortunately, people would get the training only to find out that the jobs were not available. The jobs that they seemed to have indirectly promised people that they were going to have.
Okay.
Anybody ever asked what happened to the Echo movement after 2010? Anybody noticed that they stopped talking about sustainable housing and sustainability and all that? The reason why is because it was connected to a political agenda that was not looking out for our best interests. That's why. It was the hijacked version of what it is that we would like to see. And when I say hijacked, we're talking about these cats were on some population control and all that other stuff. Talking about there are too many people on the planet and that, you know, people were causing the illusion, and they were saying cow poop was causing the pollution and all kind of stuff. You see? And my issue with that is not that there's no place for people to be. What it is that they got the population and the masses scrunched up in these tiny ass cities, stacked on top of each other. There's plenty of land. There's plenty of land. They're lying about the human race and growing out of control and the population.
It's going out of their control is the white albinos are going they're going extinct from lower birth rates and from race mix, and that's what they're talking about. It's out of control. In the future, they shouldn't even exist no more.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so that's the thing.
Sorry to see you go.
You know, they kept talking about the carbon footprint. I'm not saying that we're not having an issue with climate change, but you see, they're sneaky. The sneaky part of this is that they also wanted to blame us, you know, and I thought they were very hypocritical. People like Al Gore was going around talking about you need to cut down on driving around in vehicles, but this dude had like what, 2 or 3 jets? Has like a garage with 4 or 5 SUVs, all kind of stuff. The hybrids that they developed, those things sucked. Okay, they had all kind of problems. It was just crazy.
I want to get one in the future when they're better and they're cheaper.
Yeah, and when they actually work.
Yeah, better.
You know, so that's the thing. I think it'd be a beautiful thing for us to start not another green movement, but a real green movement. You see what I mean? And what it is that somebody's got to have the black part, somebody's got to do the red part, and somebody's got to do the green part. You feel me? So somebody needs to focus on how we're going to bring the green back into the community. You see, because we're used to living it. They got us thinking that it's black to live in a concrete jungle with nothing growing out of the ground and all that stuff.
It's tight, huh?
They got us identifying with that. You see what I mean? And one of my biggest issues with people that was talking about picking up M16s and AK-47s and ain't trained on how to shoot or nothing is that they go out half-cocked. Nobody's read The Art of War, nothing like that, so they end up getting jacked up. What you don't want to do is let everybody in the freaking world know what you're doing. So what they did back in 1993 or 94, all these brothers and sisters were getting on talk shows, like on the Donahue show, right? And this brother was talking about, yeah, we gotta rebuild the Black Panther Party. We gonna take this country back. We gonna take this country and all kind of stuff.
Donahue?
Yeah.
Toward Dr. Khalid Muhammad.
Well, not just Dr. Khalid Muhammad. I'm talking about
Was a national champion.
Yeah, you know, Khalid Muhammad, he would say some pretty inflammatory things but at the same time he was sincere.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You could tell that this brother wasn't talking just because he wanted to hear himself talk. He actually meant that, what he was talking about. But the difference is, he was smart enough not to put the strategy out.
Right.
You see what I mean?
What she said on the show, I remember.
You see?
Which wise? He said, what wise general discusses anything with a representative of the opposition and discusses battle strategy and stuff like that. Yeah.
You know?
Dr. Khalid.
But unfortunately, all these other brothers decided that they were going to get up on there and talk about how they were going to form a new Black Panther Party and how it was going to stretch across the nation and everything else. So they also said, we're going to have a civil war by 1995. So you know what they did? They dumbed down the music, they dumbed down all the television, and they went after our minds, and they dumbed everything down. Around 2001, when they had 9/11, what they did is that they created the illusion that the country was under attack, right? Mm-hmm. Can somebody please tell me why that third building fell when it was not hit by a plane? Because it was blown up. Yeah. The shit was blowing up from the inside. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Exactly.
So, what happened to the parts of the plane that hit the Pentagon?
Anybody ever found them?
Yeah, because it was blowing up from the inside. No plane hit the Pentagon.
The plane flew into the top, and there was flames coming from the bottom, and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
How's it going to blow up from the bottom?
Yeah.
The plane flies into the top of it.
And planes, metal does not evaporate. They didn't find a trace of the plane, but you saw the Pentagon wrecked. Okay? Yeah. So what I'm saying is that they had to scare America into forgetfulness around that time. And everybody for a minute, they felt that they were unified against a common threat. That's the game. So then they used the Green Movement because they said, okay, instead of like trying to target people and say that they're the terrorists, let's just say that the terror is going to come from above, okay? So people were blamed for having a large carbon footprint, and they began to say, okay, we're going to start having carbon taxes, okay? And they also found a way to make money, but the light bulbs that they were getting were coming from China. And these twisty, twirly light bulbs, incandescent light bulbs, fluorescent light bulbs, had dirty electricity leaking off of it. So people were complaining about headaches and everything else. And then if you bust one, you have to have go by a special process to clean it up, because of the fact that the powder that was inside these light bulbs were toxic. So So, to start another eco movement, or to start a real eco movement, we want to talk about having an eco-friendly environment. Maybe we need to go and get the training and get the people who would like to, like a lot of those hippies, learn from those hippies and teach us some stuff.
Oh yeah, that's real.
You know what I mean? Go and talk to those white folks who have those, what you call those every Friday they meet up, the farmers market. Talk to them talk to someone about how to get some of that food. They don't tell you everything. You ain't got to tell them anything. Just be like, look, I'm interested in healthy food. How can we get down? That's what they do to us. They always ask, how do they get down with us? And a lot of times we just open the door right on up. So, you know, get resources. And that's the biggest thing. You go have an organization and you got no resources, what you yapping about? You ain't got no resources, but you're up here trying to build an army of people with no resources. You know. And you also got to be discreet on what you're talking about. You know, the bad guys got all the guns, he got the AKs and everything else. What you talking about? You only got 5 AKs. You only got 5. You got two M16s and 5 AKs. And you're going to get up there saying, oh yeah, we got an army, we're going to go and kill Whitey. It's not how you do things, man. You got to do things strategically, you know. And what you got to do is that you got to work from the inside out. You got to build, but you have to build in a way in which you're going to get people to find what you're doing attractive. A lot of black people were attracted to the green movement. They thought it was a good idea. We was able to get a lot of black people interested in an eco-friendly environment, how they could save money, because one of the ways they targeted black folks is they were saying, well, your heat bill is too high, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that you're using incandescent light bulbs, and you know, your shower sprockets leak. So they begin to pass out shower heads, and they also begin to pass out those fluorescent light bulbs, telling black folks that they can save on their heat bill. You see what I mean? So you got to give the people an incentive, because I know people don't want to hear this, but people in their basic nature, they want to know, what is this going to do for me and what am I going to get out of it, right? But we also want to get it to where the question is, what are we going to get out of it? What are we going to get out of it collectively if we work together? Because the thing about it, you're not going to pull this off if you don't love your people. You got to have a love for black people in order for it to work. It's not going to work. If you're only thinking about yourself, it's not going to work. If you're thinking about like putting yourself out there because you want to be the boss, be the king, and basically it's lights, camera, action, then it's only going to go that far. Then people are going to start stripping you of that when they find out that you're just an actor. And that's what happens. I can name a whole lot of black leaders who got out there and got crucified because they were all about lights, camera, action, and some untalked about behind the scenes footage, if you know what I mean.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, so that's it.
Yeah. And so tomorrow we're gonna come get you. We're gonna open up the other bank account and start saving up. So we are saving to buy our own land for an eco village. I'm gonna do direct deposit too. I got him to say he'll do $20 direct deposit a week, so
Cool.
I'm gonna do 50. So I'm gonna put some more in on some other times on top of that though, and I'm gonna put in the group text to the brothers in the Free Souls, a couple of them in 2 different states. If I put the account number in there, they said they'll put some money on it too. So
I should.
sure. See, something that was like $1,800 for like, I don't know, 5 acres or something. We'd go for that, but if it's still there by the time we get $1,800, we'll just see when we get close to like 2,000. There's stuff down there for like $2,000 or less.
I see.
In Apache County, we go down there and see how close the water is.
So there's water in this vicinity?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. We go down there, we can call them and ask them, but I think we need to go. If we go down there, I think we need to maybe hire a surveyor to make sure there is. If there ain't no water, then
Washington should be a place to start for